Hey everyone, welcome back to Humaning. I'm Zoe, and I'm so happy you're joining us for another conversation about what it means to really live, connect, and, well, human.
And I'm Amir. We're so glad you're tuning in. If you're new here, welcome to the Humaning family.
Today we're diving into a topic that's super close to my heart, those places that change you, travel that transforms. I know for me, there are a handful of places that have left this kind of permanent thumbprint on my soul. So we thought, what better theme for today's episode?
Yes, I love this topic. There's something about stepping into a place, sometimes halfway across the world, sometimes just around the corner, that shifts the way you see things, or even the way you see yourself. We'll be sharing some of our own stories, reflecting on why certain places affect us so deeply, and hopefully hearing from some of you in the comments too.
Oh, definitely. And hey, before we get all swept up in wanderlust, if you're enjoying the podcast or you're just vibing with these conversations, it would mean the world if you could hit like and subscribe. It helps us so much, and it's a lovely way to let us know you're out there.
Absolutely. It really does make a difference, and we love connecting with all of you. All right, Zoe, let's get into it. Places that change you. I want to ask, what comes to mind for you first? Is there one place that stands out?
Oh, wow. There are a few, but the first one that pops into my head is actually Kyoto in Japan. I traveled there alone in my mid 20s. I know it sounds a little cliche, but it was my first real solo adventure. I remember wandering through these impossibly quiet bamboo forests. I'd never really been alone with myself like that before. It felt almost like the world stopped, and I could finally hear my own thoughts.
That's beautiful. There's something about being alone in a new place that gives you permission to just listen, isn't there? I think places like Kyoto, with all that stillness and centuries-old tradition, almost invite you to slow down, to reflect.
Exactly. I think that's what changed me. I came back with this sense that I could be okay with myself, that I could trust myself to navigate the unknown. It's funny because it wasn't some big dramatic epiphany. It was just subtle, a shift. What about you, Amir?
For me, it was Istanbul. I have some family roots there, so it wasn't just the city itself. It was this powerful collision of past and present. I remember standing at the Hagia Sophia, looking up at that dome that's been there for almost 1,500 years. You can feel the layers of history in the air. It's humbling. Makes your own problems feel very small in the best way.
Oh, I love that. I've never been to Istanbul, but it's high on my list. Did you feel connected to your family history while you were there?
I did, actually. It was almost like I could hear echoes of the people who'd come before me. There's a street in the old city. I remember walking it at sunset, the call to prayer in the background, the scent of spices in the air. It struck me that so many generations had walked those same stones. And here I was, just another traveler passing through. It made me feel both tiny and infinite at the same time.
Absolutely. That's so powerful. It's like sometimes a place reminds you that you're part of something bigger, right? I had a similar feeling in Rome, just standing in the Colosseum. There's that sense of time stretching out behind and ahead of you, and suddenly your own story feels like just one thread in this massive tapestry.
Yes, yes. And I think that's part of why travel can be so transformative. It's not just the new sights or the food or the Instagram photos. It's those moments when your perspective shifts. You see yourself differently. Or maybe you see humanity differently. Have you ever had a place challenge you, Zoe? Like really push you out of your comfort zone?
Oh, yes. I went to India in my early 20s. I was not prepared in the best possible way. It was so intense. The colors, the sounds, the sheer number of people everywhere. I remember feeling overwhelmed at first, but then I started to notice this incredible openness and generosity from people I met, even total strangers. There was this one woman on a train who shared her lunch with me, just handed me a piece of roasty with the biggest smile. It cracked something open in me. I realized how much I'd been holding back out of fear or shyness. India taught me how to be more open, more present.
That's such a great story. Sometimes the most challenging places are the ones that shape us the most. I remember my own trip to Morocco, Marrakesh in particular. The Medina is just this labyrinth of sounds and smells and people. At first, I was completely lost, literally and figuratively. But by the end of the week, I found myself embracing the chaos. I learned to let go of this need to control everything and just let the experience wash over me.
That's so true. Travel humbles you, doesn't it? You think you know how things work, and then you're dropped into a place where the rules are totally different. You have to adapt, and sometimes you surprise yourself with what you're capable of.
Exactly. And I think that's why people talk about travel as a way to find yourself, even though it's a bit of a cliche. There's real truth to it because you're forced to confront what you don't know or what you're afraid of. And sometimes you come out the other side a little changed.
Absolutely. And sometimes it's not about the far off exotic places. I mean, don't get me wrong, I love a good adventure halfway across the world, but I've had some surprisingly profound moments close to home, too. There's this tiny lake up north where my family used to go every summer. It's nothing fancy, but I remember sitting on the dock at sunrise, just watching the mist lift off the water. It was so peaceful. Those quiet moments can be just as transformative.
I'm so glad you brought that up. I think people sometimes underestimate the power of the familiar. When I was younger, I used to think I had to go somewhere big and dramatic to have a life-changing experience. But sometimes it's the place you return to year after year that really shapes you. For me, it's my grandmother's house. Every time I go back, I'm reminded of who I am and where I come from.
Yes, there's something grounding about those places. Like they hold a sort of emotional memory for us. And as we change, we see them differently too. Have you ever gone back to a place after many years and felt that difference?
Definitely. I went back to the neighborhood where I grew up after almost a decade away. It was wild. So much had changed, but so much was exactly the same. I found this tree I used to climb as a kid. I just stood there looking at it and felt this wave of nostalgia. But it was also a reminder of how much I've grown. I think there's a special kind of transformation that comes from revisiting your past.
And that's so true. It's like places become mirrors for different versions of ourselves. I went back to my old university a few years ago, and just walking around campus brought back all these memories, some good, some hard, but it made me appreciate how far I've come and how much that place shaped me.
Absolutely. And there's also something about the people you meet in those places. Do you think it's the place itself or the connections you make there that's more transformative?
Oh, that's such a good question. I think it's both. There's the physical environment, which can really affect your mood and perspective, but the people you meet along the way, that's where the real magic happens, I think. I mean, when I think about Kyoto, I remember the beauty, but I also remember this hostel manager who took me out for tea and taught me how to order in Japanese. That small act of kindness made me feel at home in a place where I was a total outsider.
That's beautiful. I had a similar experience in Jordan. I was in Petra and I met this Bedouin guide named Sammy. He told me stories about his family, his ancestors, and the history of the land. We sat on a hilltop, drinking sweet tea as the sun set over the rose-red city. That conversation stayed with me. It felt like a gift.
I love that. Isn't it wild how a single conversation or a shared meal can stick with you for years? Sometimes I think those moments are what actually change us, not just the landscape, but the human connection.
Yes, exactly. Travel, at its best, is such a deeply human experience. It's about curiosity, vulnerability, and empathy. Even the uncomfortable moments, maybe especially those, teach us something. I remember getting lost in Hanoi, totally flustered, and this old man just smiled and walked with me until I found my way. We barely spoke the same language, but it was such a gentle act of kindness.
That's so heartwarming. It makes me think about how travel can also challenge our assumptions. Like, we go somewhere expecting one thing, and then reality flips our ideas upside down. Have you ever had a place surprise you like that?
Oh, definitely. I went to Poland a few years ago, honestly not expecting much. I thought it would be gray and somber, given the history. But Warsaw was bursting with life, music, art, incredible food. The people were so warm. It made me realize how much we carry these preconceived ideas and how important it is to let places and people show us who they really are.
That's such a good reminder. I had a similar experience in Colombia. I'd heard all the stereotypes, but when I got there, I found this vibrant, joyful culture. People were dancing in the streets, inviting me to join. It was the opposite of what I'd expected, and it made me realize how limiting those assumptions can be.
Absolutely. It's humbling, isn't it? And it teaches you to approach new places and new people with a little more openness, a little less judgment.
For sure. I think that's one of the biggest gifts of travel. It's not just about seeing new things, but about growing the capacity to see with new eyes, to be surprised, to be changed.
Well said. And I think that's why, even after all these years of traveling and moving around, I still get excited before every trip. There's always the possibility that this place, this experience might shift my perspective in some way.
Do you ever feel like travel makes you more empathetic? Like, by witnessing different ways of life, you become more understanding and patient?
Yes, absolutely. I think empathy grows when you realize that your way isn't the only way. You see people living with so much less than you or with completely different priorities, and it makes you question your own assumptions. It's humbling and also inspiring.
I totally agree. I remember volunteering in Nepal for a few weeks and being struck by how joyful people were, even with so little material wealth. It made me rethink what I consider enough. I came back with a new appreciation for simplicity and for the things that actually matter: relationships, community, time.
That's such a powerful lesson, and it's one you can't really learn from a book or a documentary. You have to experience it, to really feel it.
Exactly. And it's not always easy. I mean, I've had moments of total culture shock or feeling frustrated because I couldn't communicate or missing the comforts of home. But those are the moments that push you to grow.
Right? Travel isn't always glamorous. Sometimes it's uncomfortable or even scary. But that's where the transformation happens. When you're pushed to adapt, to let go of your expectations, to learn something new.
And sometimes it's just about being present, noticing the details, the sound of rain on a tin roof in Costa Rica, or the way the air smells after a storm in the mountains. I think those small sensory memories are what stick with me the most.
Me too. I still remember the taste of fresh figs in southern Turkey, or the way the light hit the tiles in a mosque at sunset. Those little details become part of you somehow.
It's like you collect pieces of places and they shape who you are.
Exactly. And sometimes you bring those pieces home with you, maybe in the way you cook, or the way you greet a stranger, or just the stories you tell.
Speaking of which, do you have any travel rituals or souvenirs that you use to remember the places you've been?
I do, actually. I collect small stones or shells from each place I visit. Nothing fancy, just something I can hold in my hand to remind me of the feeling I had there. What about you?
That's so lovely. I keep a journal, actually. I try to jot down little moments, funny things that happened, people I met, even random observations. Sometimes I'll read through it years later and be transported right back.
That's beautiful. I wish I was more diligent with journaling. It's such a great way to process and remember the journey.
It helps me make sense of things, and it's a way to hold on to those moments of transformation, to remind myself of how travel has changed me. Do you have a place you dream of visiting that you think might change you in some way?
Oh, so many. But I think the Himalayas are calling me. There's something about the vastness, the sense of the sacred, the way people talk about the mountains as teachers. I feel like being there would shake me up in all the right ways. What about you?
Patagonia. 100%. I want to hike those wild trails and feel tiny in the face of all that beauty. I think it would remind me how important it is to protect these places too. Maybe make me a little braver, a little wilder.
Oh, Patagonia is incredible. I haven't been either, but every photo I see, every story I hear, just fills me with awe. I love that you mentioned wanting to feel tiny. I think those places, mountains, deserts, oceans, they really put things in perspective, don't they? They remind you how vast the world is and how much there is left to discover.
Totally, there's something really liberating about being in a landscape that's so much bigger than you. For me, it kind of quiets the noise in my head. I remember hiking in the Canadian Rockies once and just stopping on the trail surrounded by these massive peaks. It was almost like my problems just evaporated for a minute. It's humbling, but in a really freeing way.
I get that. There's a kind of peace in surrendering to the scale of nature. It's like you realize you don't have to carry everything. The world is holding you, too. Have you ever had a moment where you felt really tested by nature? Like you had to push through something difficult?
Oh my gosh, yes. I went trekking in Iceland a couple of years ago with some friends. We thought we were super prepared, but the weather turned on us. Like sideways rain, wind that nearly knocked us over, the whole deal. I remember being soaked and freezing and thinking, why did I sign up for this? But then, after we finally made it to this tiny mountain hut, we all sat around the wood stove, passing around mugs of hot tea, and just laughed at how miserable we'd been. It's one of my favorite memories because we did something hard together, and it made us so much closer.
That's amazing. There's something about shared adversity that bonds people, isn't there? I had a similar experience hiking in the Dolomites in Italy. We got lost, like properly lost, for a couple of hours. It was nerve-wracking. But we ended up finding our way with the help of some local shepherds. I'll never forget how grateful I felt and how much more confident I was afterward. Nature tests you, but it also teaches you.
Absolutely, and it makes you appreciate the little comforts so much more. There's nothing like a hot meal or a warm bed after you've been out in the elements. I think those experiences also make regular life feel richer somehow. You don't take as much for granted.
That's so true. I think travel, especially the challenging kind, strips away your routine and shows you what you really need and what you can let go of. It's a kind of reset. When you come back, your priorities are different, even if just for a little while.
Yes, and I think that's why people keep traveling, even when it's exhausting or uncomfortable. It's like we're chasing that feeling of being awake and alive, of seeing the world and ourselves in a new light.
Exactly. And I think it's also about curiosity, the urge to keep learning, to keep discovering. Have you found that your reasons for traveling have changed over the years?
Oh, definitely. When I was younger, I was all about ticking off as many countries as possible, like how many stamps can I get in my passport? But now I'd rather spend more time in one place, really getting to know it. I want to understand the culture, learn the language, get past the surface. I'm less worried about seeing everything and more interested in being present where I am.
That really resonates. I used to be a whirlwind traveler too, always moving, always on to the next thing. But now I find myself drawn to slow travel. I want to sit in a cafe and watch the world go by, or spend a week in a small village getting to know the rhythms of daily life. I think it's a sign of maturity, maybe, or just a deeper hunger for meaning.
I think so. And honestly, some of my best memories have come from staying in one place long enough to feel a little bit like a local. Like the bakery owner in Lisbon who started giving me a nod every morning, or the neighbor in Chiang Mai who taught me how to cook sticky rice. Those relationships take time.
Absolutely. It's those small moments of connection that stay with you long after you've forgotten the names of the tourist sites. I think that's part of what makes a place transformative. It's not just what you see, but how you feel and who you become while you're there.
So true. It makes me think about all the different ways a place can change you. Sometimes it's a huge, dramatic shift, and sometimes it's more like a seed that gets planted, something tiny that grows over time.
That's a beautiful way to put it. And sometimes you don't even realize how much you've changed until you're back home. Have you ever had that experience where you return and suddenly everything looks different?
Absolutely. It's almost disorienting. I remember coming home from a few months in Southeast Asia and feeling like everything was moving so fast. People rushing everywhere, all the choices at the grocery store, even the way people greeted each other felt different. It made me realize how much I'd slowed down, how much I'd valued simplicity while I was away.
I know that feeling. It's like you have new eyes. I think that's one of the gifts of travel. You don't just learn about the world, you learn about your own culture too. You see it from the outside, and that can be eye-opening.
Yes, and sometimes challenging too. I've had moments where I felt a bit out of sync when I got back, like I didn't quite fit anymore. But I think that's part of the growth, right?
Definitely. There's a word for that: reverse culture shock. It's real. But I think it means you've absorbed something valuable. You've changed, and now you have to figure out how to integrate that into your life back home.
That's such a good point. Do you ever find yourself bringing back habits or rituals from other places?
I do. I started drinking my coffee without sugar after spending time in Italy, and now I can't go back. I also try to take more time with meals, to really savor them, which I learned in France. How about you?
For me, it's all about greeting people. After living in Spain for a while, I got used to saying hola to everyone I passed, and now I try to do that at home too, even if I get weird looks sometimes. It just feels more human, more connected.
I love that. It's those little things that make life richer, isn't it? You carry the world with you, in small ways.
Exactly. I think that's the heart of it. Letting yourself be changed, letting those places and people leave their mark on you.
And you never know when it's going to happen. Sometimes it's the place you least expect. Have you ever gone somewhere with low expectations and been totally surprised?
Oh, absolutely. Years ago, I ended up in Slovenia almost by accident. I was supposed to go to Croatia, but plans changed. I didn't know much about Slovenia, but I fell in love with it. The people were so friendly, the landscapes were stunning, and there was this calm energy everywhere. It reminded me that the unknown can be the most rewarding.
That's such a great story. I had a similar experience in Lithuania. I went there for a conference, not expecting much, but Vilnius completely charmed me. The old town, the street art, the sense of history and resilience. It made me realize that every place has its own gifts if you're open to them.
And sometimes the places that challenge us the most are the ones that teach us the most. Like, I got really sick in Laos, a classic traveler's stomach bug. I was miserable at the time, but I ended up being taken care of by this wonderful family who ran the guest house. They brought me soup and checked on me every day. It was such a lesson in kindness and in letting myself rely on others.
That's so moving. I think vulnerability is a big part of travel, isn't it? You have to let go of control, let people help you, admit when you're lost or struggling.
Yes, and I think that's why travel makes us more empathetic too. When you've been the outsider, the one who doesn't speak the language or know the customs, you're much more likely to be patient and compassionate with others.
Absolutely, I try to remember that feeling when I meet newcomers in my own city. It's a good reminder to be welcoming, to reach out, even in small ways.
Me too. It's like travel teaches you how to be a better neighbor wherever you are.
I love that. We've talked a lot about physical places, but I'm curious, do you think virtual spaces or online communities can be transformative in similar ways?
That's such an interesting question. I think they can in their own way. I've definitely joined online groups like language exchanges or travel forums where I've met people from all over the world. Some of those connections have turned into real friendships, and I've learned so much from them. It's not the same as being somewhere physically, but it can still open your eyes and broaden your perspective.
I agree. I've had really meaningful conversations with people I've never met in person. And sometimes those exchanges shift my thinking just as much as travel does. It's all about being open, curious, and willing to learn.
Exactly. I think the key is to approach every space, physical or virtual, with that same spirit of curiosity and respect. You never know what you might discover.
Well said. I think that's a good lesson for life in general, isn't it? Stay curious, stay open, and let yourself be changed.
Absolutely, and it doesn't always have to be a grand adventure. Sometimes it's just about noticing what's around you, wherever you are.
I love that. You know, we've talked a lot about the profound, life changing moments, but sometimes it's the small, joyful experiences that stick with you the most, like sharing a joke with a stranger on a bus, or stumbling onto a local festival you didn't know was happening.
Yes, I remember being in Portugal during Carnival by total accident and just getting swept up in this wild, colorful parade. I didn't know a single person, but by the end of the night, I was dancing in the streets with everyone else. It was pure, unexpected joy.
That sounds amazing. I think those spontaneous moments are often the ones that remind you how connected we all are, even across cultures and languages.
Totally. It's like beneath all the differences, there's this universal desire for joy, for connection, for meaning.
Absolutely. And travel for me is one of the best ways to tap into that universality, to see the world's diversity, but also its sameness.
That's so true. And I think that's what keeps us coming back for more. Every place, every person, every moment has something to teach us if we're willing to listen.
Well, I feel like we could talk about this forever, but maybe we should start to wrap up. Any final thoughts, Zoe, on places that change you?
Oh, wow. So many thoughts. But I guess if I had to sum it up, I'd say let yourself be surprised. Go into every place, whether it's a new country or your own backyard, with open eyes and an open heart. You never know what might change you.
Beautiful, I'd add. Don't be afraid to be uncomfortable, or to get lost, or to feel out of place. That's where the growth happens. And remember, it's not just about the destination, it's about the journey and who you become along the way.
Oh, so well said. And to everyone listening, thank you so much for joining us for this conversation. We truly love hearing your stories, so please share your own places that changed you in the comments. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share it with your fellow travelers, or even your homebodies who might need a little inspiration.
Yes, thank you all for being here with us. Your support means the world, and we're so grateful to be building this humaning community together. Wherever your journey takes you, near or far, we hope you find moments of transformation and connection.
Until next time, keep exploring, keep humaning, and keep letting the world surprise you.
Take care, everyone. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.